Yo, 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 what's up, Kwanza Global Family? This is episode 34. We back again with another episode. How's y'all week been? Last time we talked was last week Friday and everything. And we back again with another episode on another beautiful Friday. And yeah, we're gonna get right into it, man. This is episode 34. We've been getting to it. And man, we've been blessed. We've been blessed. Thank y'all, all the supporters, all the listeners for tuning in. Um, whether it was for one episode, two episodes, all of the episodes, just tuning in right now to our most recent episode, this episode 34 right here. Um, Whichever one you are, we thank you for the support. Thank you for the listen, for the follow, for all of that. You know, we appreciate y'all. Thankful for y'all for real, cause this is for y'all at the end of the day. Um, to so we can help one another, to help each other. You know, point blank. Period. So yeah, we back again with another EP, another episode with your boy, and yeah, we about to get into it. Episode 34. So today, honestly, just a quick revelation real quick. Like, man, like, just driving back, you know, to the crib in my car, and I was just playing, I was playing this TobyMac song, and I listened to it actually before, maybe at least at least two or three times. Um, and it's a song off his most recent album called Life After Death. Um, and on that song, it's a song called The Goodness, right? And that song, man, it's fire. And when I first listened to it, man, I was hyped. Like, that song was moving. Like, it's a real feel good song, for real. You know, everything. You know, it's tough. It's a tough song. I love it. But yeah, I listened to it at least like twice or three times. In the car at one time. And I think it was like the day that album actually came out. I think I peeped it. And I was like, oh, I hadn't listened to TobyMac in a minute. So I was bumping it, and yeah, it's fire, man. It's a tough album. You guys should check it out though if you get the chance. Life After Death, by TobyMac, but it's tough. But yeah, this particular song I listened to it before, but yo, um, on this particular day when I was driving, in the car, I mean, I was cool, the whole morning, everything like that. But when I was driving back to the crib, um, you know, when I was driving back to the crib on this particular, um, this particular, um, it just, things, when you just get in your feels. But I don't know, like, when I listened to this song at this time, and this time I listened to the song, because I have the song on my not my, well, I have it on my playlist, but I have it on my, Apple Music is what I want to say. I have it on Apple Music, um, and I have it on like the album itself on Apple Music, and I have the song on there and the album and all that. But I listened to this on YouTube though this time around, and I was just watching the music video for it because I hadn't seen it, and I mean I obviously I love the song, so I was like, yo, let me watch the music video too. I was watching the music video too, and I was just man, yeah, man, that song just really did a number on me, man. I was just driving, and then like like halfway through the song, man, I was in tears, man, and it just made me just think like, yo, like God is really the goodness in my life, man. Like, because even with everything that even through all the bad and all the moments that were so painful, right? Like, I have to understand that, like, the reason, some of the things that were painful for me, like, you know, my mom passing away, like that's painful, that's hurtful. But I have to realize that, God is the one who gave me my mother. He's the one who gave me my mother at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like she, that's my mother, forever. That's always gonna be my mom. But that's like he's the one that gave me my mother. You understand? Like you know what I mean? So imagine like, you know, the way I love my mother, how good my mother was. So imagine that. So the way I love my mother, how amazing my mother was, how good she was, and then imagine the person who created her, right? Like my mother was, the best. So it's like, man, I'm so thankful to God because He gave me my mother at the end of the day, and you know, and then ultimately, you know, at some point or another, she will go back to her creator, to her father, to God, who made her in the first place, who and God who made her, you know, made me through her, and all of that. So it's like, I still have to be appreciative at the end of the day because, man, that goodness, of having my mother, a mother like that, it all started with God. You know what I mean? That that didn't just happen. That didn't just exist. You know, in and of itself, that happened because of God. He did everything in His own way, in His own plan. Like everything, no matter what you think, always ends up aligning. Always ends up coming to fruition. Through His perfect will, and His perfect will always comes. You know, um, to happen. It always comes to exist, to occur. God, that's just how God is, right? So it's like that revelation really just hit me. Listen to that TobyMac song, man, and I was just like, yo, this is like I don't know. This is just so I wouldn't even say overwhelming, but yeah, like yeah, I was just overwhelmed with yeah. I would say that actually, like I was just overwhelmed and just filled with so much, um, you know, with yeah, there was definitely like some sadness in there, naturally, cause like man, all the hurt that I've been through and still going through here and there, just growing and continuing to um, heal from it and be comforted by it, by God, as I continue to live my life. But at the end of the day, I'm so what helps with that is that I'm so thankful that that for the goodness in my life, for my mom, that's the goodness in my life, for my family, my siblings and my close friends, that um that have been around me, you know, uh, you know, from then till now, and thankful for just everything God has given me. You know what I mean? Thankful for my wife. My wife Grace. I'm thankful for my my where I am in life. Being alive, being healthy. I'm thankful for all these things that have happened. And even within all of that, these things that I'm thankful for, I've still gone through that pain and that hurt and that um, everything. I've still gone through a lot, and still going through, that's just life. But I'm thankful for the goodness because I know even in all that, God is still good, right? So I'm thankful for it all, man. I'm thankful for my wife Grace. I'm thankful for my siblings, my dad, my cousins, aunties, uncles, my closest friends, which are, I put them in the category of family as well. You know what I mean? For my closest friends. My guys. So it's like at the end of the day, this is the goodness in my life that I'm thankful for. As well, this is the goodness in my life. And then in the future, When I have kids, another thing to be thankful for, the goodness in my life. So all of these things, it's really like when you really have like, it's just a revelation that I mean, one really does have to come in terms, because sometimes it doesn't really dawn on you how good God is. You know, the goodness in your life. I mean, I think for me personally, just being able to, I'm so always attached to moments, to memories, to that I have with the people around me. That it's like, when I think of the goodness in my life, it's so, when a revelation like that comes, it hits hard, because it's like, man, I really, like, I already relate, or I already hold so much emotion. I hold so much value to the memories that the great memories that I have, with the people that I love, that I come into contact with. So what, having a revelation like that is, again, it was so overwhelming, because it's like, man, it's so true, man. Like, it's almost like everything kind of comes, like all the things, all that I realize are so, that I've had in life that are so good, just kind of comes to the forefront. And it's like, wow, God is really good, man. I can't, this is undeniable to me. This is me speaking for myself, right? Like, it's undeniable to me, like, how good God is. And it's like, and I want you guys to understand, it's not, this is not in the absence of pain, right? So, I mean, clearly. So, it's like, one could say, it's easy to say God is good. You're not going through anything. It's like, no, I've gone through it. I'm still going through stuff. I've gone through stuff. I'm still going through stuff. I'm still healing from stuff. I'm still recovering from stuff. I'm still praying. I'm still, slipping up. I'm still, you know what I mean? I'm still going through all these things that universally everyone goes through at one point or another, right? So, to say that, like, what is it based on? I could say that wholeheartedly. God is good. God is good, like, without a doubt. Like, you know what I mean? So, I feel like it's so important for us to even, you know, testify of how good God is, because we all gone through. Some of us, unfortunately, might judge other people for where they are in life, in a good place, maybe coming from great parents, wealthy parents, and but that doesn't absolve you, or take you away from going through pain, going through trauma, going through hurt at all. I mean, I think that's clear as day, because as wealthy, you got wealthy parents and still end up doing what you're gonna do, right? Going through what you're gonna go through and messing up and all this and that. So that's just a cop out plea. I don't care what walk of life you come from, whether you come from wealthy parents or not wealthy parents. You come from middle class, you come from the projects, the hood, you come from whatever, income level. It really does not matter. You know what I mean? You could testify of the goodness of God from whatever walk of life, you come from. And I feel like, with that revelation, it doesn't matter with that revelation, it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. It doesn't, because God is still good, right? So it doesn't matter, whether advantaged by society standards or disadvantaged by society standards. In reality, we all start at the same place, in as far as, you know, with God. We all have to, once we all start off with not having a relationship with Him, to having the opportunity to, we all start off that way. Some we don't have that, that relationship with God, in the sense that, we openly, um, accept Him, right? Like, openly accepting Him, like, really accepting Him into our hearts and living our life that way. We all start off not doing that, right? Because, we're just born, and, we just go through this life. And then we get to a point where we get the opportunity to do that, or to follow, the way of God. At some point in our life, we have those opportunities to do that, right? And So that's really that's really what life is about essentially. Whether or not you start off with wealthy parents or not wealthy parents is not of significance to God at all, right? I mean, to society it is. To society that makes you or breaks you, that affects you, and I'm sure, and of course, it does in some way or another. Um, in regards to where you grow up and environment you're in and the type of people you're around. I mean, that's a reality. But God is sovereign, which is another way to put it is God is still, you know, the overseer. He's still in control of everything, regardless of where you yourself start, where your parents started or ended up. It doesn't matter. That does not dictate or affect or hinder God in any way, right? God is still good, and God is still able to. Is still, has your life in His hands if, and He will work in your life if you allow Him to, right? Um, if you don't allow Him to, that's it. That's the decision you make. But He will work in your life if you allow Him to, and then whether or not you come from $1 billion or you come from literally, $0, from nothing, nothing in your pockets. It does not matter to God, and that's like that revelation shows you how good God is. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Okay, if generations of your family were poor or generations of your family were wealthy, that literally does not stop God from doing wonders in your life. And I mean, we see it all the time, but I guess it's so maybe I don't know, I would say desensitized to it, but maybe we don't we're not we don't attribute it to God's goodness because it's not happening to us. And that's kind of selfish because it can happen to you, but maybe you're not really recognizing that goodness in your life is the same goodness that's happening in your life, but because you're not holding $1 billion, you don't attribute that to being goodness. If God gave you those $1 billion, would you still attribute it to the God? Maybe you probably wouldn't still acknowledge Him. So maybe that's not the that's not the missing piece here. Maybe it's it's you haven't changed your thinking, because whether or not if God blessed you with $1 billion, would you even attribute that to that being from God anyway? And it's not like God just gives you things so he can get the acknowledgement. It's like, yo, I'm gonna give them this so they can give me thanks. Like, you see me now? It's like, no, He just blesses us, good or bad, no matter what we do. He blesses us, you know, in various points in our life, blesses us greatly, and whether we thank Him or not. You know what I mean? I mean, how many of us, you know, have remembered to thank God for anything, and are still doing well, or still being blessed? That's who God is. He's just good. You know what I mean? Like, whether you come back to thank Him, but I mean, it's so, the the principle. I mean, that's our principle. I mean, when somebody does something good for you, you just go say thank you, even if they're gonna do it anyway, just because that's who they are. You just go say thank you because that's what when it just shows you where your heart is. It just shows that your heart is, appreciative of that. Because that doesn't necessarily mean that that will always be the case, right? Or that always happens for everybody. You're just appreciative because it's like, wow, you know what I mean? It's not like I deserve this or any of that. You're just, you're being blessed because, God loves you. Simple as that. And it's like that revelation, that, of God's goodness is such a profound revelation, for me. Um, and it's like, whoa, you know, um, it's, God is not a respecter of persons. He doesn't play that favorite child card, favoritism card. I mean, I know we love to joke around and say, I'm God's favorite, but it's true though. We're all God's favorite. At the end of the day, He's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how, like, and just like with every like as a parent should, all this, they shouldn't they shouldn't be all like, no, this is actually my favorite in my heart. Like, no, like, you should love all your children equally, and that's how God is literally. You know what I mean? People always ask, it's like, yo, why is this person, getting all of this? They don't even. profess God. They don't even move with God. God, like to tell you how good God is. God is will bless, because God created all of us. God created all of us. Point blank. Period. You know what I mean? God created all of us. It's our whether or not we acknowledge that or and acknowledge Him, profess that Jesus is Lord. Whether we accept Him as our Lord and Savior, whether or not we acknowledge Him as that, whether or not we allow Him to work in our lives, whether or not we follow Him, that's on us. Like whether you want to, like that is on us. Whether we want to do that, but God is so good that He will bless you anyway. And God is also God of principle. So if you're doing what you're doing, if you doing what you have to do, if you're a great businessman and you're doing what you have to do, and whatever the case is, and you put in that work and you make money, God's gonna, I mean, you're gonna get blessed. You know what I mean? You're gonna be blessed. You're gonna be blessed, abundantly. I mean, God is not, over here picking and choosing. It's like, oh, that person didn't do that day. He's not doing. He doesn't move. God doesn't move like that. But there is a point in, but unfortunately, there comes a point in time where it's like, where I mean, there's consequence for our actions. So some people, get to a point where it's like, God's been blessing them, but that doesn't stop them from, when you're not following God, at some point it'll affect yourself negatively because you're going in a way that God really hasn't willed for you. Of course, He's gonna bless you because He still loves you, and He created you, He made you, in His image. He still loves you, all of that. But if you're not going in you're not following His instruction, to the T, you're not really doing that in your life, and you're still trying to, maybe, principally speaking, you're doing certain things that are, that God is in turn blessing you for. But in other ways, you're cheating, you're lying, and doing other things, and there's consequences to that. And then in those when people fall into those consequences, sometimes it leads them closer to God, where they get closer to God. It's not like God necessarily. It's not like God necessarily left or went anywhere. God is always there, but you yourself are. I mean, it's like God is right here, and you're kind of just taking steps back, step back, step back. You know what I mean? You're taking steps back, as God is never moving at all from you at all. He's not moving from you. He's right there. You are moving. You're moving back over here, and then before you know it, you're like, God, where are you at? Where is God at? It's like, no, He's been in that same spot. You took those steps back. Like, you literally took those steps. Like, you went back here. God is right here. You moving back. Like, why? Like, I'm in the same spot I've been in. That's since that time. Like, remember that time you could see me. I mean, you could holler at me. You're like, man, the sun is up. Like, God is good. It's like, thank God for that. But you gotten so far away, you taking your steps over there because you wanted to see what's good over here, that you forgot about me. That you forgot that you were right here, right? It's like, you know what I mean. So it's like, that's what sometimes happens, and then um, certain situations, when the consequences of our actions that are contrary to what God, wanted for us, sometimes have us drawing ourselves closer back to God. God is there, been there, and we draw closer because we realize that we messed up, and in some cases, some people, die hard with with whatever it is. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, with it, they just die hard with it. It's like, and it's not like God wasn't there, but they didn't open their heart to receive it. So I mean that, this again, it's just an example of how that revelation of God's goodness is so profound, so important, so real. Cause it's different. It's different. But it'll change your life, man. It'll just change the way you move. 'Cause God is really good. God is really good, and everything visible and invisible. You know, comes from Him. So it's like, what, like, you know what I mean? We also have to humble ourselves. It's like, what really comes from us? You know, humans want to take credit for a lot of things. It's like created this, did that, did that. You know, I mean, that's great, but who gave you that ability to do that? Like, I don't care what tech you came up with. I don't care how you went to space and back. All these things wouldn't be possible without God. These resources. It's like, oh, the fuel you're making. It's like, oh, this special type of fuel. It's like, all right, cool. So you made it out of thin air. You made it out of what? Like, what elements made that fuel? What? You know what I mean? Like, all these things. You could be proud all you want. At the end of the day, it all came from something, whether visibly or invisible. It came from something, right? Gravity, all right, came from somewhere. The lack of gravity in space. You guys, we didn't create any of that. Gravity is just there. In space, it's not. So that's just a thing created by nothing. So it's so random to the fact that there's gravity here, but there wasn't gravity there. That's just so. I think that's just beyond me to really be that, you know, stand on that fact. That's just a cop out to me. It's like you can go up there, yeah, there's no gravity. You're not gonna fall. You just float. And the fact that you can go there, you cannot breathe. You cannot breathe without special equipment, but here you can. So that is just how things got into order. Come on now. I mean, you can believe what you want to believe, but at the same time, that to me also doesn't sound logic. That something would just happen and happen that well, happen in that order, happen in the way that it's that way. You know what I mean? It's, God is so good, but he doesn't need to prove that. It's like, I did this. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. Now it's up to you to whether you want to you see it, that you realize that this is God's goodness in your life. And I mean, it's just God's love, through anything that just will reveal to you how good He is, reveal to you His light, His love, His everything. Like, and, it's just so comforting. And I prayed for God to comfort me. I prayed for God to just, continue to heal me and everything. And I can for sure tell you that he does that in His own way. And when I say in His own way, and that's the best way. Like, in a way nobody could ever actually do. You know, everyone could, what everyone else could possibly do, it just be temporary, it just be here and there. But the way God comforts you, it's on a different level. And this is just, me personally speaking, and that's so real. But it'll change the way you live your life, to have that type of revelation, to have that, to just give. But you have to, just give it a chance. Give it a chance. Allow God to work in your life. Help. You know what I mean? Like give God room in your life. Like God, talk to God and say, God, let me help you out, and allow you to work with me, yeah, to work in me and work with me in my life, so that I can see the goodness, so I can get this revelation. I can get to this realization and get this revelation of how good you are in my life, right? Give that, allow for that, and I mean, I think it'll. I mean, I talked about this on another pod. I mean, yo, come on, us as human beings, bro, we'll experiment, try anything, like jumping from buildings, jumping from planes, doing backflips off planes, uh, parkour, jumping from building to building, like literally living all on the edge, and all this stuff. But you won't try God. You won't try this God that you've heard before, that people, um, you know, are living for, are following, that are testifying is good, or all this stuff. You won't try God. You'll try everything else, All right. You'll try everything out living on, but you won't try God. All right. You will not try God. For whatever reason. Like, no matter what your reason is, it's like what's stopping you from trying it? But you'll do everything else that literally and that literally does could end your life. Like that could literally hurt you, or that could really hurt you and give you pain in some type of way, right? Whether it be with drugs or living life on the edge, jump from, like, you'll do that. You're not afraid of that, even though that is like legit playing with danger. Whatever it is, you be doing like the hardest drugs, risking it all, getting something from a shady dealer. Like, you'll do all of that, but you won't try God. Like, all right, that's the limit, though. I ain't praying. I don't want to see. There ain't no God, but you'll try that drug from that dude who's trying to prove himself, who's trying to rise up the ranks as a drug dealer. Like, homie just started today selling you drugs. You don't even know the price value on that stuff on the street. He's selling you that joint. And then you risking your life for that. It could have anything in that joint. You risking your life for that. You risking your life for jumping from buildings to buildings for the gram, getting millions of views. And you don't realize that God is really just keeping your feet solid. One ankle tweak and it's over. God is just keeping you good. You jumping with a backpack on top of it. Or doing parkour, jumping off the fence and everything, jumping from airplanes. Man, like, God is keeping you all this while, and you like that, and He just hear you say like, "Nah," but the limit is me, dog. I just find that hilarious. Looking at, but I mean, no, for real though. Like, humans will do everything. We'll try all types of stuff, you know, like literally risking lives, like on the daily, like doing whatever. You know what I mean? Those are like the two that I can think of, like whether it be drugs or like parkour, because those be like living on the edge to me. Like that is too much. That's too much for me. But people do it. But I mean, it's like when it comes to God, it's like, nah, I ain't gonna try. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, I ain't gonna try that. I ain't gonna try that. People will go to the devil and try that before they even go to God. That's and that, I mean, that's reality. I mean, there's no. I mean, who needs to sugarcoat that? I mean, in this generation, we see it all. So that, I mean, to sugarcoat that would be to who am I protecting? I mean, who am I trying to baby here? People will do everything, but when it comes to God, a line is drawn. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to ask yourself why. Why is that line drawn there? Or why was it? Or why what the fact that it was drawn at all? Like, it wasn't drawn before, but maybe you've gone through something that made you draw that line to give God, to allow God to be in your life. Like, wow, you have to ask yourself, why was that line drawn, and did it have anything to do with God, or maybe you have to look inward. You have to look at what happened and why did you attribute that to that being um, from God. And I think, yeah, we have to go through that. We have to go through that process. It's like, well, why? You know what I mean? And especially in our generation, this society, like everything is kind of like about yourself. So a lot of the times, let's not even go to like even in our relationships, we don't even want to say we're wrong. So imagine when we're dealing with God here, right? We're dealing with God here, and even in your own relationship, you don't want to say you're wrong when you are wrong. So maybe you also have an issue. That same issue is affecting how your relationship with God. Why can't that be the case? Maybe your pride got in the way. Maybe you attributed that something that was of human mistake, of human error, of human fallacy, of human sin. You attributed something that was done to you, or done to you against you by a human being, and attribute that to God. But why would, you know what I mean? Unless that human being is Jesus Christ, you can't attribute unless you know what I'm saying. Like the only person you, unless you were with Jesus Christ in human when he was on earth in human form. What human could you have done you wrong or dirty, and that has anything to do with God Himself? Like literally, it can't mix. It can't work. The logic can't work. Because as a human being, they are imperfect. They will sin. They will fall. They will do things. Whether you know what I mean. So we have to, no matter what they do or who they are to you, whatever respect you had for them, human beings will mess up. Um, and that's why our at the end of the day, our expectation on trust for one another is not that we shouldn't have a trust or respect for one another or any of that, but it shouldn't be to the degree. It shouldn't be more than our. It shouldn't be to the point where we um, it becomes our trust in them diminishes their human nature. It takes away their human nature. Human nature is there regardless of the human nature of human beings will exist regardless of how much we trust in each other. We will mess up. So that doesn't change anything. It's like my expectation to you and my trust in you is not going to all of a sudden um, change your the fabric of your makeup of your human nature. You will somehow slip up, and that's the whole reason why we need God. So to attribute what someone has done, maybe that's what affecting your view of God. It is already it's you have to change your thinking there because that's already gonna put it down because then no matter what someone no matter so then anyone who messes up basically has the potential to affect how you view God in some way because you're somehow you are unintentionally somehow putting a human being on the level of God to say that because they did this to you, God wouldn't allow this. Understand? So, in that case, you know, we're not operating in a real black and white way. We're kind of acting as if God's kind of a puppeteer here, and He's gonna be like, "Oh, what are you doing over there?" and just kind of pick people up out the sky and move them over there so they don't bother you. You know what I mean? We there's consequences to our actions and all of these things, and we have to look at things differently. And the way God works is not how we work, and the way God thinks is not how we think, and the way life works unexpectedly. So, um, it's funny how when things happen to us, we think it's because God did it, God allowed this, but when things good happen to us, God, where's God in the picture? God did it, but I didn't remember to thank Him, or this was just luck, or this is just because of my hard work. But when things bad happen, then why did God allow that to happen? So how come God is included when bad things happen, and He's included because you didn't want that bad thing to happen? Why would God let that do? Why would God let that happen if something, if He was there, if He was there? But when good things happen, well, I think it's because I worked really hard. I think it's because I graduated from here. It's like that could be the case too, and God also could have showed you favor as well in that job interview. You know what I mean? So what you know what I mean? That's also a possibility, but we want to pick and choose when God is there or when God should be there. So we on our own heads have now have now put have this idea or thinking that this is how God should move. God should be here when things are going good. Like God, like when things are good are happening to me, great. When bad things are happening to me, like it's one or the other. It's like, oh, when bad things are happening to me, God should be there to protect me from them or take them away or stop them from happening to me at all, right? And when good things are happening, just let them, let it happen. It's because I did this, I did that, and God had something in it, He had something in it, but I know I did. You know what I mean? So it's like we have this idea of when God should act or how God should act. It's like God should be here when things are going good, or just let me do me and work for what I got. And if things don't go my way, then God, do your thing, but I'm gonna still attribute it to me. Yeah, how crazy, how confusing does that sound? But that's the real life. That's how like. That's really how we are. Good things are happening. All this is happening. We don't thank God. We don't acknowledge God. We don't do that. He's not. I mean, he's not gonna be feel some type of way. He's God. He's good, but we don't want to do that. We want to attribute it to ourselves, or because this happened, or I had a connection with this person, or whatever. We want to attribute to everything but God. Then bad things happen. It's like, God, where you at? Where were you at? It's like, I've been there, and this is not how it works. Bad thing. I never said trouble's not gonna come. I never said this is the life that we live. So you want me to pick you up out the air and bring you over here when you shouldn't have been in this place in the first place, or you shouldn't have done this in the first place, or you shouldn't have done that in the first place, or that wasn't me. This person did something wrong, but that has nothing to do with me. That person will, I'll deal with them how I'm gonna deal with them, but don't come talking to me like you know what I'm supposed to be doing. You ain't talked to me since, and now you want to talk to me. Now you want to pray and tell me this and that. It's like, I mean, we have to, reel back here. We have to reel back here, and I think it's our idea of how God should be is affecting how we get to that revelation of how good God is. It affects that. We can come to that revelation of how good God is when when our thinking hasn't been renewed, when our thinking is still, we're still thinking we know, or we have an idea, or we know exactly how God is, how God should be, how God should act. As if we are not the creation. As if we are not the creation. How can the creation know more or understand more or even on the level of or anything equal to the creator? You know what I'm saying? Like that's you know what I mean? For real. Um it's like when you become a parent, when you become a mother or a father, right? When you are raising your child, when you're in that child's life, like really, I mean, I'm obviously actively in that child's life, till they move out the house. You know that child more than you know what I mean. So when your child is hiding something. You know when your child is lying. You know when your child is trying to hide something or is going through. They're trying to hide as best as they can. They think they're not, giving tell signs, but because that's your son or that's your daughter, right? So right? So you just know, and that's how God. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's you just know. So that's apply that to God. God already knows us and everything, more than we know ourselves, right? All right. So it's like no matter what it is. So then to say now, then to act like, like, and then try to reverse that and act as if your creator, your father, the person who created you, you know what I mean, knows less or doesn't understand what you. It's like, man, he's like we're talking about God here from the beginning to the end. think he don't know what he's doing, and you are trying to act as if you're in a position to say, "Oh, this is how God." It's like there's the what we know of God. He's faithful. We know these like what he's faithful. He's loving. He's good. But in the way that he works, in the intricacies, in the way in his timing, his ways, his thought, these things are beyond us. All right, this is beyond us, but we're putting ourselves in position to act as if we know he's going to do this. He has to do this for me. Why didn't he do this for me? Why didn't he pick me up when I was down here? Why didn't he do this? And because our thinking hasn't been renewed, and we're looking at it from a woe is me point of view, from a victim point of view, from a place where we are, where we think we are more we're not putting ourselves in a position to really understand who God is more, but we are taking the position of understanding who God is, and he's not doing the things he says he will do. But you haven't even read your word one day in your life. You haven't even opened that at all. That's his word. But you somehow think you just intrinsically know. You just intrinsically know. You just somehow know. You just know that no, God isn't doing what he said he's going to do, or isn't helping, or God isn't there. Just because you just don't feel it, or you just don't. This happened, this event happened, this situation happened, this happened, this bad thing happened. So now because of that, you just know that this can't be God because, right? So, you know what I mean? So you haven't even opened the word to see what God says about himself and how he deals with us, humans, how he deals with us in all our complexness, in our moods and our, ways. You haven't even opened the book to understand that there's nothing new under the sun, and we gonna do what we gonna do. We gonna say what we gonna say, and God is still gonna be God. You look in, you look in the Bible, and you understand that God does not change. We do, humans do. There's different type of, what I mean. Humans do, and humans still, and one thing about humans, one thing that we won't change is we still make the same type of mistakes over and over again. All right. Across the board as a human race, and God is still the same, and he still deals with us the same way. You haven't even looked into that, but you already um you already cutting God off, you already dismissing God, and you haven't even talked to him. You haven't even. So because you taking the stance that you know who God is. You know who God is. You know how God should be. You know how God should act. You know how God should move. You know his will. You know his perfect will. You know his way. You know his plans. You know exactly how he should do things, when he's going to do things. You know all of this. You must know all of this, because then there'd be no way you can come to the conclusion if you weren't in that space. There's no way you could come to that conclusion if you didn't think in some form or capacity that you know what God should have done. You understand? There's no way. In just some way or form. Obviously we don't, but in our minds, all of us must have come to that conclusion that we know God should have. If we think God should have done something and he didn't, that means we've come to the conclusion one way or another in our minds that we know. It's implied that means we think we know who God is in his entirety, his plans, his thoughts, and everything, and that since he didn't do this, then he doesn't exist, he's a lie, or he's not who he says he is. And that's the problem here. It's our thinking that we actually know everything about God, and that we know his moves, his way. No, let's not go that far now. We're not in that position at all. So we need to reel back and check ourselves, right? Something that's the problem. That's what we don't want to do. We don't want to check ourselves. We need to check ourselves and understand that this is, what we don't understand the situation, point blank, period, and that we as long as we're alive, we're always going to continue to grow in our relationship with God and continue to get God more. And one of the ways in doing that is in His Word, which is why His Word exists, the Bible, right? And in that, even with that, we're still growing and gaining more knowledge of Him. And when things happen that don't look that are bad, that happen that are bad, just point blank, period. We must trust God because we know God is overseer of it all, and He already saw it. So if He already saw it, now we must come to the conclusion that God is in control, and that this was not meant to end me, right? And at the end of the day, um, knowing that God is in control, there's more to it that we don't understand and we don't need to understand, because that's for God to handle. That's God's responsibility. That's for God to handle. That's why He's God, and we need to go to Him, draw to Him, and whatever we need from Him, He will give us. From as much knowledge as we know of God, the things that we can get from Him are just enough. You need comfort, you need healing, you need deliverance, whatever you need, God can give that to you. That we know, because God says it in His Word. You need these things. You need a counselor. You need a mediator. You need an advocate. God can give you that. But as far as telling you, why did this happen? Why did you allow this to happen to him? Why did you listen to how to her? Why did you allow this to happen during this time? Why did these things, all these intricate things, all these specific things, just leave it to God. Don't burden yourself. But God knows you need comfort during this time, because you lost someone close to you. God knows you need this, so let Him work in you, because that's what He said He is. He's a comforter. He knows what you're going through, so let Him comfort you. Now, as far as the answer, that leave it alone, because that's not your responsibility. That's not what you need to be concerned about. You don't, you know what I mean? Let God be God, and then when you get to see Him one day, that good and faithful servant, then all right. Now you can get your answers. Now you can get your, you know what I mean? But until then, sometimes you will get that answer at some point. Maybe, depending on what it is. And then other times you'll get that peace of mind, at least until we see our Father in heaven, all right? And we have to be okay with that. But we cannot put ourselves in a position where we think where we all of a sudden our thinking becomes we're trying to take the place, or you take the place of who God is, because we do that when we think we know what God knows, exactly what He knows, and we don't. Right? And that is so important to understand, because we are really missing the revelation of how good God really is. And that is it's just a beautiful revelation. And and I'm telling you, it's hard. This life is hard. But that revelation, even in spite of the hardships of life, is so exhilarating and so refreshing to understand and get to that point. But we have to change the way we think, and we have to really sit back and allow God to be God. All right? We have to allow God to be God. We are not our own gods. We are not our own gods. We did not put ourselves here. We were born out of our mother's womb. Like, you know what I mean? We need to take away that pride. We need to sit back and let God be God, and understand that He gave us a purpose. He gave us a reason for being here, and He loves us, and He says who He is in His Word, and all of these things, and we need to understand that. Right there, we need to understand that, and let God be God. And man, I'm telling you, that revelation of how good God is would just change your life. Period. Would change how you walk, how you move. And man, that's just been a revelation for me, more and more, and especially, during that drive back to the crib, I was just like, wow. I was just like, wow, yo, God is good, yo. Like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's just different. It's just different. And speaking from personal experience, and I just want to, and I have to let y'all know about it. What's the point of keeping all that to myself? I want y'all to know about that. You know what I mean? You God's children too. I want y'all to know that this is a real thing, and that I want y'all to experience that too if you haven't already, and that it's a real thing that you can and will experience if you let God be God. Like, it's the goodness I want you guys to understand and feel. But yeah, man, it's the goodness. That's episode 34, yo. Episode 34. It's episode 34. Episode 34. I love y'all, man. I love y'all. I pray that God's goodness, that the goodness of God will show in your life, and you will get that revelation just as I received that revelation. And I just want you guys to allow God to work. Like, help God out and allow Him to work with you, to work in you, in your life, to transform you, to renew your mind. Allow God to do that for you. Allow God, let God in, give Him a chance. Let God do what He's gonna do. I mean, He's gonna do what He's gonna do anyways, God. But nah, for real though, like to He wants you. He loves you. So let Him work with you, in you, transform you, renew you, and get that revelation of the goodness in your life. You heard you already heard my take is, my personal experience with it. So I ain't getting on here for almost an hour just to tell you something that I really ain't go through, or someone else went through and I ain't really experienced it. Like, no, like what I wouldn't even have. What conviction would I have to even go out and tell you something like that? I'm telling you personally that I just, you know what I mean, that I wouldn't be able to go this long if it wasn't something that I felt, right, that I'm feeling, you know what I mean, that I've already went through, you know what I mean. I just, it's true, it's real. And I want y'all to get to that place, and I pray y'all get to that place, in Jesus' name, that y'all get there and really experience the goodness of God in your life, like the goodness. Get that revelation, like you don't understand good, you don't get the refreshing of your soul. You don't get that good without God, because God is the only one that is truly good. And then you can really understand that goodness that's really in your life. Man, I'm telling you. But yeah, man, that's episode 34, y'all. Like, the goodness. That's the goodness. That is the goodness, y'all. So I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough, man. The goodness it's real. It's real, y'all. The goodness, it's real. It's real. It is real. It's real. And it's happening in your life right now. If you really take that time, it's happening in your life right now. It's happening in your life right now. But I want you to get that revelation of it. Because when God reveals it to you, you see it in a whole new way. But man, I love y'all, man. Again, to all the listeners, all the supporters, all the followers, all of y'all. I appreciate y'all, man. And just thank y'all for listening. Yeah, man. Me and Grace love y'all, man. And the Kwanza Global fam gonna keep growing and growing, growing and growing. As it continues to grow, we're gonna continue to do what we do, and serve. And man, we love y'all, man. We love y'all, man. And I'm gonna keep praying for y'all. And yeah, man, catch y'all again on the next one, episode 35, next week. And that's my alarm. Yeah, I hope to catch y'all there. Hope to catch y'all there, man. Hope to catch y'all there. I'm in good timing because I set an alarm for something else I gotta do. So I'm on the money. That's the goodness, man. That's the goodness. That's God working. But yeah, man, that's episode 34. I'm gonna holler at y'all next week again. Kwanza Global fam. Love y'all. And we out. Peace.